Hello, my name is Lucy Lynn. I'm the founder of Forestlyn. And in today's educational series of emerging technology for beginners, I have Dr. Shada Alsalamah. She is the Assistant Professor of Healthcare Information System Security at the College of Computer and Information Science at the King Saud University in Saudi Arabia. And she's also the visiting scholar at the Media Lab of at MIT in the US in Boston. Very privileged to have such an expert with us today. I think she will be quite interesting to speak to. So just to get started, Shada, I'd love to learn when you were younger, what did you want to be when you were growing up, and what did you study at school?
Yes, first of all, thank you very much, Lucy, for the lovely introduction and for having me here to tell more about these stories that I have. I have a lot of stories to tell. First of all, I would like to start by telling you that when I was a child, I always wanted to be a doctor, all right? And for some reason, I thought it's too much blood, and maybe I can really achieve that by somehow helping doctors become better doctors by allowing them or empowering them with the right technology. So that's why I studied health informatics in school, but started with computer information technology in my undergrad in King Saud University, and then I studied strategic information systems assurance, which is privacy and security, in my master's in the UK in Cardiff University. And then I did my PhD in the security and privacy of healthcare information systems. So this is, where I've been before working on the projects and, being a help to healthcare professionals and making their, helping them achieve what they want to achieve by delivering the right care to the person.
Fascinating. So now you're an expert in AI and blockchain in health. Love to know a little bit more about what you did after school, because obviously you've done a PhD, so you're very smart. But can you provide a brief summary to how you got to where you are now after you left school?
Absolutely. Okay, so I did my PhD in healthcare information system security, and it was in a very straightforward problem that we were trying to solve at the time. I worked with Valindra Cancer Center, so I worked with real doctors on real problems and real systems, and we tried to make information more available to doctors. Surprisingly, there wasn't a lot of information flow with the patient for treatment. So that was the main problem at the time. And blockchain was in a trend when I graduated, when I started in 2009. And also artificial intelligence was somehow not as trendy as it is today. So I didn't apply artificial intelligence at the time. I was working on the infrastructure of the security basics of healthcare information systems. After that, I joined the university, King Saud University. I worked in mobile health and e-health, and this is about the applications again, we're in the healthcare context. And then last year, in 2017, when I joined MIT, we started working on the application of artificial intelligence and blockchain in that space. When I was hired by Sandy Pentland to work on, to use the advanced technology, he said, we've got a range of very advanced, technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and other technologies there that they're using for different sectors. And he said to me, just play with those and see what you can do with it in healthcare. And this is what got me to where I am today in applying it in different contexts. And I have a lot of projects and use cases that I would love to share with you and tell you more about.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about it because, obviously you're a woman in Saudi Arabia and you're a woman in IT, woman in blockchain, woman in AI. I don't know how many more titles you can have, Shada. But yeah,
interdisciplinary, which is very important. If you go to one specific area, it's really great, but it's the challenges and actually having multiple areas that you want to solve a problem in one using a technology in another, or at least a problem that fits them all. It's very challenging in that aspect. That's why I'm having this interdisciplinary kind of expertise, because of the problems that I'm trying to solve and the technologies that I'm trying to use as well.
Okay, so let's start with that. So what are some of the problems you're looking to solve in the AI and blockchain space for health?
Absolutely. Okay, so I work on several projects, some of them AI, others blockchain, and some in AI and blockchain together. It's quite interesting how those come together sometimes very handy. But I'll tell you two problems, let's say three problems mainly, and which will lead to the three use cases that I use those technologies in. First of all, in Saudi Arabia, and I'm come from the project that I'm working on with the Ministry of Health in Saudi Arabia and MIT and King Saud University. We have a problem of not finding the right, patients with stroke cases or stroke victims in Saudi Arabia. It's very difficult to decide from an emergency medical services perspective which hospital to take that patient to that is nearest to his home and also equipped with the right treatment. The decision has to be informed, meaning they need to know the cases, his history, and they need to know where his record actually is located, because the emergency medical service people, they don't have the record, but they need to make sure that when the patient is taken to hospital, that there is a record there that can help provide the history for the doctors. Also, they need the hospital or the emergency department to have the right treatment for his stroke case in that case, and not all of them are equipped with the right treatment. And also time factor, so they need it to be the nearest and the most equipped. So lots of factors to consider to which hospital to take it to, and they need to make sure that there are the healthcare professionals there that can provide the right treatment. Not only the treatment there, but also the professional who can give that treatment to the patient and diagnose them. So these factors are, there are no infrastructure that can help provide that information to the Red Crescent Authority or the emergency medical services personnel to be able to make that decision. And that's why that's why 85% of the Saudis, they take their car when they have a stroke. They take their car and just go, and a family member would take them, or they would drive themselves to the nearest emergency department, and that causes a lot of delays because they don't know if it's equipped. They don't know if there is a bed availability in that hospital. They would just drive to the nearest one or go to the hospital that they have a record in. And there are lots of cases where they actually die because they don't go to the right hospital in time. It's a lot of wasted time. I'll give you an example. My grandmother actually passed away because when she had a stroke, my uncles took her to the called the ambulance, and they took her to the nearest one to their home. And when they sent her there, admitted her to the hospital, they didn't have the right treatment for her after doing some tests. So my uncles asked the hospital to send her in an ambulance to another equipped hospital, but they said that's against the hospital policy. So they had to discharge her and take her in their private car and call every hospital around to do that. That's an ambulance job, but the ambulance did not do it the first time. And I understand the challenges there for them to make that decision. So it's not always a straightforward problem that can be solved. So we're trying to build we use artificial intelligence to study the pattern of the movement of patients once they have a stroke symptom to the hospitals, and that's in collaboration with the ministry, bringing 7 hospitals together, and information about the mobility of those patients and visualize that on a map can help decision makers in the Ministry of Health make the right decision about where to build the next comprehensive stroke center, and which times of the week, which days of the week, and which hospitals and which locations or districts needs more optimization.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, so this is how we use artificial intelligence and some of the algorithms to visualize that data and be able to help make decisions. Now we use Opal, Open Algorithm Platform. It's an open source platform in MIT with a great team under the supervision of Professor Sandy Pitlin. It has 2 components, Opal. So the problem with hospitals that make such a very important decision to help, rescue and help, send the patients to the most equipped hospital, that needs information coming from all of the hospitals in the whole region. And you imagine the questions that you can ask and how you can transform that information in real time. It's very difficult to do that because we have, thousands of hospitals, and we have around hundreds of emergency medical services, in the field, ambulances in the field, that they need to access that information and make the right decision. Also, they are dispatched to the patient, and we have 33 million patients in the in Saudi Arabia who needs to be looked after in that sense and be taken to the right hospital. So it's very, very challenging. So it's very difficult to bring that information physically. So what we do is that we implemented OPAL, which is Open Algorithm Platform, that can put a server in each hospital, in order to and have a centralized one where the emergency medical services can ask a question like, what is the most equipped hospital near this location with those symptoms? And this history of the patient, or with those allergies that needs to be considered, or those vital signs that are available, or this age, for example. They need to know the age of the patient in some of the cases, or majority of the cases, to make a better decision. So these questions can be asked to the systems, and an answer can be retrieved using a mobile application that can tell them which one is closest and which one has the treatment for this specific condition that they have. Because emergency medical service take the vital signs. So this is how we used Open Algorithm, which is Opal short for, in order to help ask question and receive immediately in real time answers that can help them make the right informed decision at the time. Okay. Blockchain is used to audit access to this information. This is to help with monitoring the system and make sure that the right information was accessed by the right person. Because in emergency cases like those, you need to make information available to the right people to make a decision. You cannot wait for approvals. So you need to audit, and then if there was any breach afterwards that had been detected, then you can take the person can take the responsibility, and actions can be done accordingly.
So just to recap, the AI is used as an algorithm to make recommendations of the closest hospitals. And can you explain a little bit more to how blockchain will actually audit? Is it for transparency, or what's your how is it used for auditing, just for the beginner audience?
Absolutely. So let's go back to the blockchain generally. The anatomy of blockchain is just about tracking change of a specific asset. Could be tangible, could be non-tangible, and this asset in this case is actually the hospital emergency department information and patient information. So these are two different things. You're tracking how the change is happening to the patient and exactly which hospitals are available at that point for that specific patient. So we record at each point where the information is asked on the systems. We record who asked this information and when answers been revealed for that specific person, in order to make sure, and at what time, of course. It's a timeline access of that information, to make sure that someone knows who accessed what information at what time, coming from all of the hospitals available in the city of Riyadh. And in this case, we have only 7 hospitals out of 50. It's a massive project, but we're using it as a proof of concept to help the Ministry of Health make the right decisions.
Wow, that's so fascinating. And I love that very tangible example of how AI and blockchain is used in health.
Literally helps save lives, and make speedy decisions about where to take the patient. And it's very, just 2 weeks ago, I've been to a funeral where a 40-year-old gentleman, a Saudi citizen, actually had a stroke. And, younger generation also have strokes, not only about the elderly. So we need to make sure that we make those decisions to help save their lives.
Yeah. And can you scale this outside of Saudi Arabia as well? And you say there's 7 hospitals, it's going to hopefully go to 50, but outside of Saudi Arabia, are you able to work with the other ministries of health, like say in Australia, for example, to be able to scale this solution here or elsewhere as well?
Problems in different countries are different. So, for example, I spoke with the minister of, a state minister of artificial intelligence in United Arab Emirates, where he talked about how they solved this problem in a different way. They managed to see the problem and be able to provide a solution. So it's not an existing problem for them as much as it is for us. But for example, in the United States, the healthcare provider is not actually the government. It's actually the healthcare provider, or actually hospitals and some insurance companies that have hospitals. So the decision is not cannot be for all the hospitals. It cannot be generalized for all hospitals there, because the stakeholders are different. In Saudi Arabia, the ministry makes those decisions as a decision maker, but in the other example, the structure and the system is very different. So it can be the very same solution. It has to be tailored to the needs of the keeping in mind the differences in the different cultures. And also, it's in the United States, it's been regionalized. You have different regions, and for each region you have class A, class 2 hospitals. We don't have that in Saudi Arabia at the moment. That's why it's a different problem and different context. And that takes us to the fact that you need to make sure that you use the right technology to provide the right solution for the right problem. Not any solution would fit all. So you need to tailor that based on the need, and you need to speak to the right people for that.
Okay, fascinating. Just talk to me a little bit about the impact of that project you talk about, and it saves lives. Can you tell me a bit more about, well, how is AI and blockchain used in health that is making that huge impact?
Absolutely. Okay, so Saudi Arabia is in the stage of shifting from being having a traditional healthcare sector into a digitized one, and this shift needs a lot of infrastructure to be built in order to help achieve the goals of the Vision 2030, and having building a vibrant society that can actually or have a vibrant society that can help live in a healthy environment. And one of the things that they want to achieve is actually building the right, connecting the systems, interoperability, in order to make those informed decisions. So the impact is huge on the whole country to help achieve a goal that can take them into other levels of building smarter. The urgent care is just one aspect of Saudi's healthcare system, and using artificial intelligence and blockchain, there are two different technologies that are being used specifically together in a nice, as two ingredients to solve the issue of urgent care and sending the right patient to the right hospital, sending the patient to the right hospital that is equipped for his specific case. The other impact would be, generally speaking, there are different issues that needs a lot of other attention, but starting somewhere can help you shift and build a bigger and a better system that can help not only urgent care, also for end of life when it comes to e-home care, that you can use blockchain to track patient caregiving for the family and everyone. Also, there is the maternity, there are the procedure, there are different systems in Saudi Arabia that can build, but starting somewhere can help a huge impact, in building and improving the other systems.
I think what you're saying here is that right now, because the space of AI and blockchain is still incredibly new, that there's still a lot of test cases that is still being built. And, obviously there's cultural differences, there's different legal systems, there's different frameworks and regulations. So each country or each industry will need to test out some of these aspects before it could be scaled. But it's great to see the example from Saudi Arabia, because that hopefully will give ideas to other nations, other industries to be able to
the same problem. Absolutely. And when applying a technology to a specific sector or industry, it's very good to have a use case where you have all the ingredients and the elements studied well to provide that proof of concept, because you cannot solve everything using the technology. You need to start somewhere, and you have to do baby steps in order to be able to address all of the problems. Just breaking down the problem into smaller problems and provide a solution for that while considering the others is really very important for the success of such solutions implementation.
Fabulous. And so, as a beginner, obviously, this is aimed at the beginner audience. What are some practical tips that you can provide for beginners of health to be able to implement some AI and blockchain in their field of work?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that I'm a beginner in artificial intelligence and blockchain, but I'm considered beginner in comparison to other people, because I
think you're an expert.
I had a lot of use cases where I used that technology. So coming from that perspective, I didn't learn everything about blockchain and artificial intelligence. I learned what I needed for that specific use case, and you learn as you grow, and you as you use the case. So you cannot learn everything about the technology and then try to apply it. Just try to find a specific problem, and then you can try to see whether this solution can actually provide a solution for that specific problem or not. Because it all starts with the problem and not the solution. And speaking with the right team, you need to speak to the domain experts. I'll give you an example. The aircraft crash that happened on Sunday, it had 33 different nationalities in there, and it was a disaster by itself. And when
Sorry, can you refer to the airplane crash? That's in Ethiopia, was it?
Ethiopian Airlines crash that happened sadly on Sunday, and the 180 plus people passed away in that tragedy. When they tried to understand the problem, it was a new software that had been installed in the aircraft, and looking at the problem, it's not that software wasn't badly designed, and it wasn't a software failure that happened. It's actually, in my very own opinion, it was the miscommunication between the domain experts and also the software engineers when they built the software to consider that specific scenario when when the software can overtake the control and the pilot doesn't have the control because it's switched on. If you just simply, as a pilot, switch it off, you will have full control over the software and the whole aircraft. But if you turn it on, that means you're allowing the software to actually take control, because this is how it was programmed. It's programmed to take control once the pilot doesn't actually needs help with the stalling of the aircraft. So it wasn't actually a problem, but it's just this scenario where the pilot may actually lose control, and the same time can't really breathe and have the be able to be conscious to make those decisions in a timely manner. This wasn't considered in the use cases, in the testing use cases, to put the right controls to adjust the software to at least give it a timeout, a break when if there is no response from the pilot, to turn off immediately or something. They can consider different scenarios, but it's very important to communicate with the domain experts when you design a software, to make sure that is well tested and it fits all the scenarios, and always update it when cases come out like these. And I'm sure there are a lot of changes in the software development, for that specific software after this incident and the reports that happened. But unfortunately, lots of people had to lose their lives in order to make that change.
Yeah. And I think it's so important for technology to always account for people.
Yes.
And the use cases of people.
Absolutely.
And I think, unfortunately, as we develop new technologies for AI and blockchain, hopefully we work very closely with the developers to make sure that the people aspect is also in there, not just technology focused. And you bring a really good point there, because we're both very deeply entrenched in the space, and I think the developers, they speak their own language, and unfortunately they don't always consider the human aspect.
Absolutely. And when I studied computer science, they always said it's best not to have an interdisciplinary expertise. They said in order to be top in your field as an academic person, it's best to focus on one area. But when I look at the different tragedies that we see around us, and the need for experts to people having problems and challenges in forensic odontologists, in medicine and in healthcare and home care. There are lots of issues there, but they need computer scientists to actually help them solve their problem. I know some interaction and interviews or conversations, questionnaires can help gather some information, but you need more than that in order to understand deeply the problem. You don't have to study medicine to do that, but you need more communication with the doctors and speaking not with one doctor, more than one doctor in that specific scenario, to paint the full picture and help with them gather the requirements for the software.
Fabulous. I'm loving this conversation. I have some final questions. It'll be fast, fun, final questions to learn more about Shada. So what is one piece of technology that makes your life easier? Just one. I know there's a lot.
Okay. Well, I'm very passionate about the interoperability problem which is letting systems talk as much as people talk. And blockchain, I see, has a huge impact on the solving the interoperability problem in specific scenarios in dental data and also in healthcare data. So blockchain for me, it's a fascinating technology at the moment that I'm very passionate about, and I think it can solve a lot of problems.
Okay, fabulous. This is where we are. We're at a
There's
blockchain
no one at
conference.
specific time. There's no one technology can solve everything, and tomorrow could be another technology that would replace it to improve things. You never know.
So, talking about the future, then, so what is the most innovative thing that you've seen or heard that you'd like to have in your life, then?
Well, I know that some people fear the control of, and I brought a very horrible example, but it's real, that how artificial intelligence and robotics and can sometimes over control us. That's fear that is there, and everyone is discussing it, but it's fascinating how it can be used. I'll tell you one of the projects that we're working on. There are patients who die because they're waiting for their appointment to be diagnosed with their mental illness. There is very rare machines that can read the brain activity, and one of them is in Saudi Arabia. Cases come from all the Middle East, and it could take up to 7 months to be diagnosed. People die before they come to their before the appointment approaches. So literally, there is less manpower and expertise who can read those images. If you can use machine learning and artificial intelligence in order to help diagnose reading the brain activity in those images and videos, the CTs and the scans, the X-rays and the scans. They call it MEG, MEG. Then you actually literally save people's lives. So I know there is a lot of negative, impact, about the job losses, but it's still creating lots of other jobs. But at the end of the day, there is a lot that artificial intelligence can do, even if it doesn't help really read it very properly. But it's literally going to reduce the waiting time, because we don't have human expertise who actually experience in reading such images. So either we wait for a whole generation of graduates who can actually be experts in that field and train them, which is going to take a very long time, or actually use machine and help those doctors do their job in a timely manner.
Yeah, I think we're at the point, and we've been at this point for for a while now. Like,
Yeah.
especially starting from the Industrial Revolution, how man
Oh, yeah.
needs to live with machine.
Yes.
And I think this is just a new phase of how we're coming in.
I
And
think we'll be fine eventually. I mean, lots of stories, lots of incidents that are happening, but they're shaping how we build those solutions, and we still need them. We still need them. I mean, we use them in our phones every day. I can't imagine living without my phone. It helps me wake up. It helps me organize my thoughts, and I have a calendar. We travel all the time, just writing things, and the time zones. It's very confusing when you have meetings with people in different time zones. So you need to keep up with that. It really helps us, have a better quality of life, and even maintaining, my medication and my allergies. Whenever I go visit a doctor, I just show them these things, because I really need to put it somewhere. I can't put it all in my brain. I'm overwhelmed with lots of things that I'm doing, and I have, very busy life like lots of people. So we need to use technology. We can't avoid that, but how we use it and how we can make it a better companion in our lives is something that is very crucial, and that's the question. And I leave beginners who are actually looking forward to work on solving problems and challenges using technology, that it's really going to help improve if we use the right technology to solve the right problem, speaking with the right people. These are the ingredients to a good use case or project in the technology. And maybe I should give a last advice about those beginners where to start, because I know I got lost in finding what projects I would like to work on and to serve whom. It's good to work on real problems. That's first of all, because we all can create lots of projects and solutions, but could not be useful to others. So find the right team experts, the experts, talk to them, read a lot about the material and the problems. So one advice I would give for beginners is to go on Twitter and follow those people who are working on the areas that they have interest in as beginners. Once you follow them, they will always post, articles. They will post events that you can go to and read those articles. Get to know what's happening and what the problems that people are trending today, in order to start from somewhere. From a start. That's a good starting point. Following people on Twitter and reading what they post in there. But you need to make sure that they're reliable people, making sure that you're reading the right materials.
Yeah, because that was another question. Like, you've skipped ahead to my final question, which is for the beginner audience, like, what do you recommend? And I think Twitter is a fantastic source of information.
Absolutely. I use it myself. Sometimes when I read articles but I can't continue reading it, or I love this article but I need to pen it somewhere, because I use my phone, I use my iPad, I use my computer, and I need to keep track of the things that I read and pass on. So normally I always share it on Twitter to make sure that I can get back to it, and also I share it with my colleagues and my students who actually follows me. So.
And I think because if we're all so busy these days, Twitter is just nice and quick information,
quick.
and you can read and follow a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So how do people get in contact with you? What's your Twitter handle, and and how do we follow you?
It's going to be a pleasure to have people get to know about the things that I do, and I'm very happy to answer questions on a Twitter message. It's at Alsalamah. That's my Twitter account, and people can always visit my website to know about the projects that I work on in MIT and King Saud University. It's www.shadaalsalamah.com.
First name, last name. Yes. Well, this has been a very interesting conversation with Shada. She's
Very much, Lucy. That's very. Thank you. That's it's an honor to be here and get to speak about some of the things that I do, and I'm very happy to help people shape their ideas. If I get the chance, if they contact me on Twitter.
Okay. Yeah, because this educational series is aimed at the beginners. We have an expert here, and and it's just fantastic to hear all your thoughts, your insights, the things that you're working on, things about Saudi Arabia, which I don't think a lot of people know about. So that's fantastic to also hear. And I love that you are an AI and blockchain health expert and a woman, so that's even better. So
Happy Women's month maybe.
yes, we're filming in March.
Yeah.
So our International Women's Day was about a week ago, so we're just a bit delayed. But yeah, no, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for interviewing me.
Yeah, and I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too. Thank you very much, and it's a wonderful, chance to get the messages across. Thank you.
Great.
And I wish everyone good luck. And artificial intelligence and blockchain are really, really nice, cool things to try out. It might not be your thing. Maybe you can, tomorrow might be a third technology that will be out there. But always try and explore. It's nice to get your hands dirty and work on something. So I wish you all the best.
Great.
And have fun.
Great. So I'm Lucy. I'm the founder of Forestlyn, and I was just sitting here with Shada. And if you have any other information, love to hear your comments down below. Thank you so much.
Thank you.